I want to talk a little bit about the Ecclesiastes passage from chapter 4, because I've really only heard that used at a wedding. Two are better than one. They have a good return for their toil. Just that whole passage. And then at the end, a threefold cord is not easily broken. And that's definitely an amazing application for a wedding ceremony. But I also think it applies to us in the body of Christ. First of all, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their work. Together, we can accomplish more than we could alone. In God's economy, in the gospel economy, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1 equals 4 or 8 or 12. Our efforts are exponential when we lock arms together and we work for the flourishing of people, when we bring the gospel into our societies and our cultures and our cities and our families and the world. And so that verse, they have a good reward for their toil, is really about how much we can accomplish together versus individually. Verse 10, if one falls, there's nobody to help him up. So, in the Christian life, we're all going to have times when we struggle. Maybe it's sin, maybe it's a season of suffering, maybe it's loss. But in those times, we really need other people to help us move forward. There's some times that, I've had friends that say, I'm going to come alongside of you, and I'm going to believe when you don't. I'm going to pray for you when you can't. And so you just maybe be on top of the mountain. Everything is just tracking along just fine. But I promise you, life is too hard to go through it alone and not have people, especially Christian believers, in your life who can come alongside of you and help you through those times. Verse 11, if two lie down together, they'll keep each other warm, but how can one keep warm alone? And this is just the comfort that we receive from the body of Christ. Maybe it's that your faith has grown cold. Maybe you're physically cold and don't have your physical needs met. In the body of Christ, because of what Jesus has done for us, we care for each other. We bring warmth and light and practical help to our relationships. And then lastly, it says, though a man might prevail against one who's alone, two can withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So it's just telling us that, very often we can't even defeat one enemy. And maybe that enemy is Satan. Maybe it is a spiritual attack or a physical attack or an emotional vulnerability. But we need the safety and security that come with a body of believers. And I love that it ends by a threefold cord is not quickly broken. And we often talk about that as God being the third cord in the threefold cord. And this is just the way I picture it in my mind, and not original to me. But if we have the body of Christ, or we have like three believers, Jesus is the cord that wraps around and binds us together. He's not one cord among three. He is the third cord that binds us together. And so when we walk along through life with other believers, we're more productive for the gospel. We find help in suffering. We find comfort in the storms and in the coldness and the harshness of life. And we are less vulnerable. We find help and someone to walk alongside us when we go through spiritual attacks, physical struggles, and we find the safety and security that we need when Christ is the focus of the body of Christ. So I hope that's helpful. I personally got way more out of this Ecclesiastes passage than I thought I would. I put it in there thinking, yeah, we need each other. But when I studied it, I'm like, there is so much in this passage. So I hope that encourages you, and I hope you get a chance to study that passage more deeply.